Have you ever felt trapped by the world around you? Like no matter how hard you try, your thoughts, your emotions, your very sense of self seem tied to a reality that pulls you deeper into suffering? What if I told you that there is a way to step back, to fully detach, not as a way of running away, but as a way of truly living? Detachment isn't about becoming numb or disconnected from life. It's about reclaiming your freedom. Freedom from the relentless demands of an external world that never stops changing. Freedom from the internal chains of fear, desire, and illusion. Imagine standing on the edge of a storm. The wind rages, lightning flashes, the rain pelts your skin. Now imagine stepping out of the storm entirely, not by fleeing, but by seeing the storm for what it is, understanding its nature, and choosing not to be swept away by it. This is what detachment feels like. The ancient philosophers were obsessed with this idea, though they called it by many names. Apatheia, non-attachment, vairagya, wu-wei. At its core, it's the art of standing still while the world spins wildly around you. But how do we get there? How do we fully detach from reality when reality itself seems to demand so much from us? Let's begin with a story. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, ruled a vast empire filled with power, wealth, and conflict. Yet every day, he wrote to himself in quiet meditation about death, suffering, and control. He understood that no matter the throne or the crown, the only thing truly within his power was how he responded to what life threw at him. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the heart of detachment, recognizing what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. But it's easier said than done. We cling to people, possessions, ideas, identities. We build castles of expectation on shifting sands. When those sands slip, the castle collapses, and we suffer. The Buddhist tradition teaches us that suffering arises from craving, the desire to hold on to what is impermanent. They say, attachment is the root of all suffering. It's not that we shouldn't care, but that we shouldn't grasp too tightly. Imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more you lose. To keep water, you must cup your hands gently. So detachment is not coldness or indifference, it's a gentle holding. But detachment also means seeing beyond the illusion of permanence, beyond the me that we identify with. In the Hindu tradition, the self we cling to is called the ego, a temporary mask hiding our true eternal nature, the Atman. Detachment is the process of peeling back the layers of false identity until only the pure self remains. When we do this, the external world loses its power to disturb us. This is the liberation the sages speak of. And it's echoed in Taoism, where the concept of wu-wei teaches us to flow effortlessly with life, like a river bending around rocks. Here, detachment means surrender, not giving up, but giving in to the natural course of things. When you stop fighting the current, you expend less energy and move more freely. But in our culture, detachment can sound like giving up, or worse, becoming a cold observer, removed from love and passion. That's not detachment. True detachment is deeply engaged with life, but without being controlled by it. To illustrate, consider the difference between a wave and the ocean. A wave rises, crashes, and fades. It appears separate, but it is always part of the whole ocean. Detachment is like realizing you are not just the wave, but the ocean itself. This shift in perspective changes everything. But how do you begin this process? First, notice your attachments. Where do you cling? To your job, your relationships, your image? Observe without judgment. Second, practice stepping back. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. Take a breath. Ask, is this within my control? Third, cultivate mindfulness, the ability to witness your thoughts and feelings without becoming them. Over time, this creates space between you and your reactions. In that space, you find freedom. There's a paradox here. The more you try to control life, the more you suffer. The more you detach, the more alive you become. Think about grief. When someone you love dies, your instinct is to hold on harder, to resist the loss. But detachment teaches acceptance, not forgetting, but allowing the natural cycle of life. In that acceptance, peace arises. The Stoics called this equanimity, a steady calm in the face of life's storms. It's not about avoiding pain but meeting it with courage and clarity. Now, I want you to imagine something radical. What if the reality you are so attached to, your identity, your problems, even your body? is more fragile and temporary than you realize? Science tells us that every cell in your body is replaced every 7 years. Your thoughts and feelings are fleeting waves in the ocean of consciousness. Yet we act as if this reality is permanent and absolute. Detachment is the wisdom of remembering impermanence, not as a source of fear, but as a key to freedom. When you fully embrace that nothing lasts forever, you stop clinging. You begin to live more fully in the present moment. This is the secret many spiritual traditions try to teach. But detachment also involves paradoxical engagement, not a withdrawal, but a deep involvement that is free from neediness. It's the difference between loving without possession, acting without expectation, and caring without attachment. This is where detachment shines brightest. But what about the ego? The part of you that demands control and permanence? Philosophers like Eckhart Tolle teach that the ego is a story. A voice in your head creating separation and suffering. Detachment invites you to watch this voice, to see it for what it is. When you do, the ego loses its grip. You stop identifying with pain, anxiety, or fear. Instead, you become the silent watcher, the presence behind the thoughts. This shift transforms your entire experience of reality. You become free. But freedom is not a destination. It's a practice, a daily choice. Every moment offers the chance to detach, to step back, and to see clearly. And every moment you do, you reclaim your power. Remember the Emperor Marcus Aurelius? He didn't detach by abandoning his duties. He did it by mastering his mind. He met every challenge with equanimity. He taught us that detachment is not about escaping life, but fully embracing it, without being consumed. And this is the key message of this video. To fully detach from reality is not to disappear from it. It is to awaken within it. To live deeply, freely, and without chains. So now, I invite you to begin your own journey of detachment. Start small. Notice one thing you are holding onto too tightly. Let it go, if only for a moment. Feel the space that opens. In that space is peace. And from that peace, the entire world looks different. You are no longer a captive of reality, you are its master. You are the calm in the storm. You are the ocean beneath the waves. This is how to fully detach from reality. Not by running away, but by waking up. And when you do, life becomes not something you endure, but something you dance with. A mystery to be savored, a flow to be embraced, and a freedom to be lived. Now, pause and ask yourself, what would it feel like to live completely free from the grip of your fears and attachments? What would it mean to be fully present, fully alive, and fully detached all at once? The answers are waiting within you. You just have to let go enough to see. Detachment is often misunderstood as something passive, a withdrawal or avoidance. But the truth is, detachment is the most active form of engagement there is. It's the power to choose how you respond to reality instead of being swept along by it. Think about a tightrope walker. She doesn't grip the rope with all her strength. Instead, she balances delicately, aware of every movement but without tension. That balance is detachment, alert and calm at once. This balance starts with awareness. Begin by recognizing how much of your energy is spent resisting what is. How often do you fight against reality, wishing it were different, holding grudges, chasing approval? These resistances bind you. But what if instead, you allowed things to be as they are? Not because you like them, but because fighting them only creates more suffering. This is the essence of acceptance, a cornerstone of detachment. And acceptance doesn't mean resignation or passivity. It means acknowledging the facts of the present moment without denial or distortion. Imagine holding a heavy stone. You can clutch it tightly, straining your muscles, or you can place it gently on the ground and breathe. The weight doesn't change, but your experience of it does. Detachment is like setting the stone down. The ancient Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. It's the radical embrace of everything life brings. Embracing your fate doesn't mean you become indifferent or stop caring. Instead, you find peace because you stop wasting energy fighting the inevitable. The modern psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote about this deeply. He said that even when stripped of freedom, dignity, and everything, people could still choose their attitude. This inner freedom is detachment in action. You may not control your circumstances, but you control your response. This is what philosophers mean when they say, detach from the outcome, but engage with the process. Now, this might sound like cold logic, but detachment is profoundly emotional too. It's the difference between passion and obsession. Passion is a fire that lights your way. Obsession is a fire that burns your house down. Detachment lets you fuel your passion without becoming consumed by it. This is the secret of the great mystics and sages. They loved deeply, served humanity, and yet remained untouched by the chaos around them. How? Because they knew they were more than their emotions, more than their identities. They lived from a place of inner stillness. Stillness isn't emptiness. It's fullness. It's the calm center from which life's storms lose their power. This stillness grows through practice. Meditation is one such practice. Sitting quietly, watching your thoughts come and go, you begin to see how temporary and fluid they are. Your thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky. You are the sky itself. When you realize this, the pull of every worry, fear, or craving loses its grip. You begin to detach naturally. Detachment is also about perspective. When you zoom out from your personal story and see the bigger picture, you realize how small and fleeting your problems are. Imagine looking at your life from 1,000 years in the future. What matters then? What worries feel trivial? This shift is humbling and freeing. It reminds you that reality is vast, and you are a part of it, not the center of it. This doesn't diminish your life, it puts it in proper context. From here, detachment grows into compassion. Because when you see the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things, you begin to care without clinging. You love not to possess but to celebrate. You give without expecting return. This is the highest form of detachment. It's what the Buddha called loving kindness, boundless and free. Now, there is another layer to detachment, the detachment from your own thoughts and self-image. Our minds tell us stories: I am stressed, I am not good enough, I am a failure. These stories create a sense of self that is fragile and limited. But what if you could step outside that story? What if you realized that I in those stories is just another thought, not the whole of who you are? This insight is revolutionary. It frees you from the prison of identity. It means you don't have to believe every thought you have. You become the observer, the witness to your experience. And from that place, you choose which thoughts to follow and which to let go. This is detachment from the ego. But beware, the ego fights hard to maintain control. It will try to pull you back into old patterns, fears, and attachments. Detachment requires vigilance and patience. It's a practice, not a one-time achievement. Every day offers a new opportunity to step back and choose freedom. Another powerful tool is the practice of negative visualization. Imagine losing what you love, your job, your health, your relationships. Though this may seem morbid, it prepares your mind for loss and change. When you detach from the fear of loss, you appreciate the present moment more deeply. You live more fully. You stop taking life for granted. This practice was used by the Stoics to cultivate resilience. It's a way to remind yourself, nothing lasts forever, and that's okay. Detachment also involves simplifying your life. The more cluttered your mind and environment are, the harder it is to find peace. By reducing distractions and unnecessary possessions, you create space for clarity. In that space, detachment flourishes. Finally, detachment is not about isolation. It's about connection without dependence. You can love others deeply without losing yourself. You can experience joy without grasping. You can face pain without being overwhelmed. This balance is the essence of freedom. As you walk this path, remember, detachment is a journey inward and outward. It requires courage to face your own shadows and wisdom to embrace the world as it is. But the reward is worth it, a life lived fully, freely, and fearlessly. So, take a deep breath. Feel the moment. And begin to step back. From the noise, the chaos, the pull of endless craving. From the illusion of permanence. And step into the vast space of your own being. This is the place where true detachment lives. Let's explore what it really means to detach from reality when reality itself feels so all-encompassing. Because the truth is, detachment isn't about escaping life or denying the world. It's about seeing through the illusion of separation. We live in a culture that tells us we are separate individuals, isolated islands adrift in an ocean of other people and events. But many philosophical traditions challenge this story. In Advaita Vedanta, a school of Hindu philosophy, the teaching is clear: the self you identify with, the I that feels separate, is an illusion. The only true reality is the universal consciousness that connects all things. When you fully detach from the illusion of the separate self, you realize you are not alone. You are part of a greater whole. This realization can be both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means letting go of control. Liberating because it means you are never truly alone or disconnected. Similarly, in Buddhism, the concept of anatta or no-self teaches that what we call the self is a constantly changing collection of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions with no permanent essence. To detach from reality is to detach from the false self, the ego, and awaken to your true nature. This awakening brings peace beyond understanding. But detachment also requires facing the discomfort of uncertainty. If you cling to identity, possessions, or outcomes, you live in a prison of fear. If you let go, you open yourself to the unknown, to freedom. Imagine the courage it takes to release your grip on everything you thought defined you. This is the existential leap that philosophers like Kierkegaard spoke of, the leap of faith into uncertainty. Yet it is also the doorway to authentic living. To fully detach from reality, you must confront the truth that the only thing permanent is change itself. Seasons shift, bodies age, relationships evolve, and thoughts pass like clouds. When you embrace change instead of resisting it, you flow with life instead of fighting it. There's a story from the Tao Te Ching that illustrates this beautifully. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. Detachment means trusting the journey without obsessing over the destination. It means being present with what is, without grasping for what should be. This attitude transforms suffering. Because suffering arises from wanting things to be different than they are. When you accept life on its own terms, you dissolve much of your pain. Now, this doesn't mean you stop striving for growth or improvement. Detachment allows you to strive without attachment to outcomes. You can work hard, love deeply, and pursue goals with passion, but without being enslaved by results. This is the difference between healthy ambition and desperate grasping. One frees you, the other binds you. Another powerful practice for detachment is cultivating gratitude. When you appreciate what you have, you stop fixating on what you lack. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. It quiets the mind's endless craving and grounds you in the present. This is not about ignoring pain or injustice. It's about balancing awareness so your mind doesn't spiral into despair. Detachment opens the door to equanimity, a steady calm regardless of life's ups and downs. And this calm is a powerful source of strength. When you respond from detachment, your actions become wiser and more compassionate. You act not out of fear or neediness, but from clarity and love. This is the true power of detachment. It doesn't separate you from life. It connects you more deeply to yourself, others, and the mystery of existence. But there's one last layer we must explore: detachment from the idea of detachment itself. It's easy to get caught up in striving to become detached, to want detachment as a goal. But ironically, this desire can create more attachment. True detachment means releasing even your attachment to being detached. This is the paradox of freedom. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. The more you surrender to it, the more you embody it. So rather than fixating on becoming detached, simply allow yourself to be exactly where you are, with all your imperfections, doubts, and struggles. Detachment grows naturally from this acceptance. It is a flower that blooms when the soil is ready. There's no need to force it. In fact, forcing detachment often creates tension, the opposite of what we want. Instead, practice gentleness with yourself. Notice when you cling. Breathe. And gently return to presence. This practice of noticing and returning is the heart of detachment. It's a dance, not a destination. A rhythm between holding on and letting go. Between involvement and surrender. And through this dance, you discover the true nature of reality. That beneath the chaos and noise lies a stillness that cannot be disturbed. A peace that is always present, waiting to be uncovered. When you fully detach from reality, you stop being a prisoner of your mind and circumstances. You become the witness, the awareness in which all things arise and pass away. This is freedom. This is awakening. And this freedom is available to you right now. Not in some distant future, but in this very moment. So pause. Feel your breath. Notice your thoughts without judgment. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they appear. From this space, detachment is not only possible, it is inevitable. And when you live from this space, you are no longer controlled by reality. You flow with it. You dance with it. You become one with it. And in that unity, you find true peace. Now that you've journeyed through the philosophy and practice of detachment, let's bring it home. How do you live this freedom every day? Detachment is not a one-time event. It's a continual unfolding, a practice of returning again and again to presence. Start by creating daily rituals that remind you to step back. Maybe it's a moment of stillness before you start your day. A pause to breathe deeply and set an intention to remain detached from what you cannot control. Or perhaps journaling, noticing your attachments and how they shape your reactions. Awareness is the first step to change. As you build these habits, you'll find it easier to recognize when you're caught up in cravings, fears, or judgments. And then you can choose differently. Detachment also grows through challenges. When life tests you, through loss, disappointment, or uncertainty, see it as an opportunity to practice. Ask yourself, what can I control here? What must I let go of? This mindset transforms obstacles into teachers. You become stronger, wiser, more resilient. Remember, detachment is a shield against suffering, but also a gateway to joy. When you aren't trapped by your attachments, you can experience life's beauty more fully. You can savor simple moments without distraction. You can love freely, knowing that love is not possession. You can act with courage, knowing that failure does not define you. And you can rest in the deep knowing that beneath all change lies an unshakable peace. Many people think detachment means becoming passive or disconnected. But in truth, detachment is the source of true engagement. It frees you to live with intention and compassion. It opens the door to creativity, spontaneity, and authentic connection. Imagine a life where you are not controlled by anxiety about the future or regrets from the past. A life where you meet each moment with openness and grace. That life is possible. And it begins with the simple act of stepping back. Of choosing to detach, not as an escape, but as a path to freedom. So, what will you do with this freedom? Will you hold on to old fears and attachments? Or will you let go and step into the vastness of your own being? The choice is yours. And it's waiting for you now. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this video spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more of these life-changing ideas into the world. And remember, detachment is a practice, not perfection. Be kind to yourself as you learn to live freely. Until next time, breathe deeply, stay present, and walk your path with courage. You have the power to fully detach from reality. And in doing so, to fully embrace life.